Hey, welcome back to my video. So here we are going to be watching some horror animations, and let's get straight into it.
The events of the story take place over the course of a few nights. Before we get there, I need to provide a little bit of backstory. My husband and I had just moved to New York City, like right in the heart of the city. The apartment was breathtaking. I kept thinking that it was a loft apartment you would see in a
Wait,
movie.
hold up. Why do you have a boy voice actor for a girl,
Or a television show.
That makes no sense.
My husband was fortunate enough to land a well-paying job that allowed us to afford this beautiful
Like at
apartment.
first when they were saying the husband, I was thinking of like, oh, this is a gay guy. But then it
My
was a
favorite
girl.
part was the view. At night, you could see all the lights from the city out of the windows. It didn't take long for my husband to make some friends at work. He's a very social person, and being in sales for a decade makes it easy for him to strike up a conversation with anyone.
Bro, wait, what is this guy's face? Like, bro, what's wrong with your eye, dude?
Almost a year into living in the city, we had our weekend crew that we would hang out with routinely.
Dude!
We would have dinner,
Like, is this
play
guy like a
games, or
psychopath?
just have some
Because,
drinks
like,
with Becky
this
and
guy,
Jim,
like,
as well as
Dude,
another
this guy literally looks like he'd be a psychopath.
couple, Jason and Liz. But my husband's best friend from the city was a man named Eric. Eric did not have a significant other, but never came alone. He always had a friend that he would bring. He would always joke with me and my husband, "Don't worry, guys. You never have to worry about me being the third wheel." This turned into a reoccurring joke, and Eric was almost referred to as this third wheel. One night after one of our little get-togethers, my husband and I were getting ready for bed. We talked for a while, but I'm pretty sure I fell asleep mid-sentence. I woke up at some point in the middle of the night. I didn't look at the time, but it was still dark, so before 5 a.m. if I had to guess. I heard a noise, and I know that it's what woke me up. I just laid in bed, feeling a bit uneasy, and looked up in the dark room. I thought I could see a figure of some kind in the corner of the room.
Dude,
The more I tried to
that
focus,
guy,
the
like, that
more
guy
and
looks like
harder it was to
it's
see.
a freaking 2-year-old.
I felt as if though I could almost hear something like breathing or wheezing.
Oh, God.
No matter what sometimes keeps you up, Nature Made helps you win the night. Our melatonin gummies are scientifically developed to help you fall asleep faster naturally. Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
After a few minutes, I felt much better and chalked it up to some kind of vivid nightmare and rolled over back to bed. I was too scared in the moment to look and didn't want to wake my husband up for something that was probably just a giant overreaction. The next night came and same story. We went to bed at around 11. I didn't tell my husband about the events of the night before. Again, I was awoken in the middle of the night. This time I looked at the time and it was shortly after 4 a.m. I could for sure hear breathing this time. I looked around the room from the bed, but this time I couldn't see any figures like I did the night before. I could just hear the breathing and it felt so close. I tried waking up my husband, but he was out cold. I didn't try awfully hard because he had to wake up in about an hour for work. I didn't sleep well the rest of the night, and I woke up with him in the morning and did not want to stay in the bedroom alone when he left. I moved to the living room and slept on the couch for a couple of hours. The day was miserable. I couldn't shake the weird feeling for the entire day. Around 2 in the afternoon, I took a shower. When I turned the shower off and was drying my hair in the bathroom, I heard something from outside the bathroom door. I froze in paranoia in the bathroom and listened with my ear to the door, but heard nothing. Finally, I worked up the courage to leave the bathroom and felt a minor moment of relief when I was in fact still alone in the apartment. Shortly after 5, my husband came home from work and I told him about the events of the last 2 nights. At first he laughed as if though I were telling him a joke. Once he realized how freaked out I was, he then began to try and rationalize what I could have been seeing and hearing. I have to say, I was insulted because he even suggested that maybe I had too much to drink, but that was not the case whatsoever. He then said in a reassuring voice, "Listen, if it happens again, just wake me up, and I'll search the room." This actually did give me some relief that I was able to talk to him about it. However, I was still anxious that I would hear or see something again. That night came quickly, and I was so tired from the previous night that I felt. Night came quickly, and I was so tired from the previous. I was still
Is that
anxious
shin pubes, bro?
that I would hear or see
Or
something
is that
again.
just like,
That night
like,
came quickly, and I was so tired from
maybe
the previous
something
night
what
that I
happens when you
fell
eat that
asleep, even
face.
though I was practically petrified to go to bed.
like
Again,
some
right around
twinkles?
3:30 in the morning, I
Like,
woke up to the
twinkles,
sound of breathing,
twinkles.
and it was undeniable at this point. I looked around the room and saw nothing, just like the previous night.
He's under the bed.
I woke up my husband and told him to listen. He said he could hear the breathing too. He sprang from the bed and turned on the light.
Now that we've helped people customize and save with Liberty
Bro,
Mutual, we
just
can finally do
big
some
ass
beach reading.
guy, hoodie on in the corner.
When you hear the call of the wild,
Oh, no, that's
answer with a
not
pair of
bad.
Skechers. Waterproof, insulated, all
There was thankfully nobody standing in the room. That brief moment of solace
Oh,
ended
he's either
quickly
under these
when that
curtains,
nightmare came
under
true.
the bed.
My husband walked over to the walk-in closet, and emerging
Oh.
from under the bed was
Ah,
friend Eric.
jeez, dude, that actually
He
scared
sprinted towards
me.
my husband, who was now in the closet, and tackled him.
That
I
actually scared
screamed
me,
in
bro.
panic, absolutely freaking out.
How
I
that
jumped from the
scared
bed
me.
and tried to make a run for the door. My plan was to just yell in the hallway until someone hopefully heard me. I didn't even make it to the door before Eric had caught me. I screamed as loud as I could, and thankfully in a quick moment my husband sprang out
Bro, freaking
and tackled Eric in
dude,
return.
like, bro,
ran to the cell
does
phone,
this
called
guy take
police.
karate lessons
My
or
husband is
something?
a
Because
fairly
you see
large
that
man and
foot?
was able to get Eric to the ground and keep him there and subdue him until the cops showed up.
Bro, that guy looked like
To the
he got
police's
like a
credit, they
robe
showed up
on
incredibly
with
fast.
freaking.
My husband
And
only
he
had
goes
minor
back
scrapes and
footing.
bruises, but had a pretty big knot on his head.
I know
When the
what
cops were
happened.
arresting Eric, we could hear him saying, "I didn't want to be the third wheel anymore. I didn't want to be the third wheel anymore." What's even more disturbing is that he told the police he was inside of our apartment for a couple of days. He had somehow stolen my husband's key and made a copy of it. He was apparently breaking into the apartment for weeks, but had been staying during the night for the last few days. I'm not sure why he didn't try anything while we were sleeping or any of the times myself or my husband were alone in the apartment. It still freaks me out thinking that this man was inches from where I slept. We're now back in my hometown and not living in the city anymore. The terror you feel being trapped that high up in the sky with nowhere to run has made me extremely claustrophobic. You never know what people are capable of, even people you consider close friends. The police did inform us that Eric stated he didn't intend to hurt either one of us that night, but the look in his eyes told us a completely different story.
Yeah, it always ends off with a grin. Alright, so let's get over to this one. The Man in the Woods.
I grew up in the Midwest United States. During the 90s, my family lived in a tight-knit community, and we would often have get-togethers and barbecues
Is it
with our
another
neighbors.
girl? Is it one of these
It
two
was
girls?
truly the American dream. My brother and I were very good friends with all the kids from our neighborhood,
Okay, so
and whenever we'd have one of these
is
gatherings,
it-
all the kids would get together for a game of manhunt. To avoid any of the back and forth of who would
Is
be
it this
chosen
guy?
as
I'm
the
pretty sure
hider
it's this guy, but I
and the
don't know.
seekers, my brothers and I would usually volunteer to be the seekers.
okay, yeah.
There was this giant forest area outside of our neighborhood where the games would take place. And since we would often go fishing with my dad around this area, we knew it pretty well. You could say we were all very competitive. I remember it was the 4th of July, 1996. The entire community threw a party at the neighborhood park. And of course, this meant that we kids were going to have our traditional game of manhunt, one of the biggest we've ever had, and it would take place after the fireworks show. By the time the fireworks stopped, I'd say it was around 9:30 p.m. Shortly after, we gathered everyone for a game and began around 9:45. Things started
So, what did fireworks have to do with any of this? And what does this game have to do with any of this except for you're in the woods?
out like any other game. We caught most of the low-level hiders within the first 10 minutes. However, there were still some of the older kids hiding out in some of the more obscured areas of the park. We were always told never to go too deep into the woods. We were always told hiding out in some...
This guy's so dumb. Hide in the tree. Like, dude, why are you hiding right there when you could literally just be like,
the more
let me just go
obscure
in there,
areas
bro.
of the park. We were always told never to go too deep into the woods. To give you some perspective, the park we were at was at the very back of our neighborhood. Beyond that was the forest that went on for about 3 miles before you got to the highway that led into town. There was no hunting allowed in this forest because of its proximity to residential areas.
Okay.
So we would often see a lot of deer and other animals roaming about.
Bro, what
Anyways,
is that deer?
the game went on for a while longer, and despite their best efforts, we apprehended most of the hiders, except for a girl who was about 8 years old. We'll call her Ashley. I found this to be very odd because Ashley wasn't the best hider. We made our way to the small lake besides the clubhouse.
So
This was the last area we would check before letting someone know that we couldn't find Ashley. It was about this time that I began to feel this sinking feeling in my stomach. I was only 11 years old at the time, but I could tell there was something wrong. I distinctly remember seeing the moon reflecting brightly upon the surface of the water as we made our way around the lake. When we got to the far side of the lake, we started hearing a strange noise coming from within the trees. It sounded like someone was being brutally stabbed over and over again, but no screams were accompanying the awful sound. The 3 of us approached the tree line. When my brother pointed his flashlight into the trees, we saw a hooded figure with its back turned to us. They appeared to be kneeling down and stabbing at something with a large hunting knife. As soon as the beam of light fell upon the figure, it immediately stopped what it was doing and stood up. The next thing I remember is my oldest brother covering my eyes with his free hand and telling us to run back to the park. The 3 of us took off and ran towards the party. I remember hearing the sounds of thudding boots tearing through the bush behind us. And as soon as we got back to the party, my older brother told my dad about the man in the woods. The rest of the night is a blur to me. I only remember seeing the police showing up and me falling asleep in my dad's arms. The next morning I was told that Ashley ended up leaving with her parents while the game was still going on, which explains why we couldn't find her. I didn't get a good look at what the hooded man had been stabbing at, but my brother told me it was a deer carcass. Looking back, I suppose we could just chalk it up to someone hunting in a restricted area. But there's still something that bothers me. What kind of person rapidly stabs at a dead deer in the dark? And even though he was nowhere to be seen by the time we got back to the party, I'm certain that he was chasing us, at least for a short distance. It makes me wonder what he would have done if he caught us.
Okay.
That was the very last game of Manhunt our neighborhood ever played.
Oh, that is, like, dude, that one was so short. Oh. Alright, okay.
A few years back, I was a shift manager for a local big box pharmacy and convenience store.
Again, man voice actor with, a girl.
It was right across my backyard, and I could probably sprint there in under a minute if I really wanted to. So it really worked out for me. I was in my late 30s. I worked out quite a lot, and while I was fit, I was still a smaller girl. Even though I was married, I would constantly get hit on and asked out. It was pretty flattering, but it always made me feel really awkward. Now, this particular store I worked at was in a really weird part of town. It was on the right side of town to attract the Karens, but close enough to the not-so-good side of town to attract the drug addicts, drunks, and psychopaths. Anyway, let me say that I'm not someone that gets scared easily. I've had someone high on meth crash their car into the side of the store, causing the back of our store to bend inward because we didn't carry pineapple juice. I had a man pick me up and throw me over his shoulder and start walking out the door with me, saying,
Bro, hold up, I need to hear this again.
Their car into the side of the store, causing the back of our store to bend inward because we didn't carry pineapple juice.
Because there was no pineapple juice! What? Who even does that? Like, pineapple juice, you literally could go, like, to, like, another store and get it for, like, $2. And you just crash your car and go to jail. Like, what is this? Like, what is this, dude?
I had a man pick me up and throw me over his shoulder and start walking out the door with me, saying that I'd make a good wife.
I just want to say,
Walking out the door with me, saying that I'd
this
make
guy looks old as shit. Like, no way he picked you
a
up.
good wife.
Unless you're like 1 pound, dude. No.
Yeah, that's one for another time. Anyways, it all started on a Sunday morning. I remember this because I was really busy building end caps and making cell signs. I was working with my favorite coworker, so the day was flying by and I was really bubbly this day. There was a man and his son that came into the store and they made a beeline for me. The man was probably just a little under 6 foot and he was skinny. The man had dreadlocks and a long skinny silver earring dangling from his ear. He also had this really tan trench coat that I found really odd because it was summer. Nonetheless though, I had then greeted them and asked if they needed some help. The man spoke with a really thick Jamaican accent, and he said that his GPS stopped working, and he wanted to see if we had any. I let out a really small laugh, thinking he was messing with me. No, that would be at Best Buy or something, but we do have a small section of electronics on this wall over here. I indicated the wall to the back of me.
Oh, thanks.
He said, taking a look but also keeping his eyes on me. Something about those eyes just really chilled me. He was speaking another language to his son, but I kept going on about my task for the day, and he would call me to...
Hey sis, it's Fleece Miss. How's everybody?
What's up, guys?
The whole squad looking fly in the hat tips. It's the coziest Fleece Miss that ever existed.
Shop cozy styles for everyone on your list. We holiday only at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
What's up with that, guys?
to help him, asking me questions about chargers and SD cards. I answered them, and then he started telling me how beautiful I was. Really awkwardly, I had thanked him.
Did you see how long that neck was?
Re-
Hold up, I need to see this again.
about my task for the day, and he would call me to help him, asking me questions about
Look how
chargers
long
and
his
SD
neck
cards.
is.
I answered them, and then he started telling me how
Yeah,
beautiful
you
I
see?
was.
That's like,
Really
Bro,
awkwardly, I had
fucking-
thanked him.
You must work out, yeah?
He asked. Yeah, yoga mostly. I replied while getting more and more uncomfortable now. He made some more comments about my body, telling me how he loved my tattoos, and he was just really being a creep. I tried to stay polite though, and eventually I just walked away to do some more work. I started to avoid him, but he was still staring at me. The man had his phone out, and I kept hearing the shuddering of a camera. I went to the office to tell my other coworker that I thought the guy was taking my picture, and I was just really feeling uncomfortable.
okay.
He then came out and watched over me. Shortly after my coworker came out, the man and his son then left. By the time the end of my shift came, I forgot
Alright, good.
about
I
it.
was about to pause the video and be like, is that it? Because I'm pretty sure stalkers don't just like walk straight in front of you and look at you, and then you call them a stalker. Because like
A
that
few
is not
weeks
stalker.
later, I was up
That's a
front ringing
watcher.
customers with a different coworker. We were crazy busy that day, but I was the manager on duty. After we got the line down, my coworker then handed me an envelope. What's this? I asked her. I don't know. Some man in dreadlocks told me to give it to you.
Yeah, this
She
is
said.
more of a stalker vibe.
I took the envelope and I went into my office with it. Inside of the envelope were dozens and dozens of pictures of me.
Yeah, that's
My
a
heart
stalker.
sank.
This is a stalker.
I had no idea that these were taken. Most of them were of me in the store while working, some of me walking home, and some even with me and my daughter. I felt sick. There was also a note with it. It said something along the lines of,
You're so beautiful. I'm in love with you. I'd be a much better husband than what you have now. Please give me a chance.
there was more to it, but it's in police evidence now. The guy really stupidly left his name and address. I then called our store manager as well as the police. They took our camera footage, my statement, and the pictures and letter. They told him that he really needed to stay away from me, or the next time he's getting arrested and he's banned from the store. I was really relieved, but still really bothered by it. A few more weeks to about a month then went by. It was another really busy Sunday night. It was just myself as the manager on duty, and we had another coworker as my cashier. We were ringing things up together when I noticed a man staring at me.
Ooh, he's outside for that.
How do you say, you rocked bath time? You say it with Nudge's dog treats.
The man was tall with a medium build. He had dreadlocks and he had the same earring and long trench coat as the other man did. This man was really scary.
Bro, how do you remember a guy that good to remember his earring?
His eyes were just cold and really dead and angry.
Okay, actually, I forgot about the eyes. So yeah, I can know how you
It felt like they were staring right through my soul. He didn't have anything to purchase, just stood and stared.
Yeah, see, that I feel like isn't more of a stalker. I feel like a stalker is like, you go and you have a guy just peeking through the window.
To smile politely at him, then another wave of customers came. I got lost in helping everyone, but didn't see the man anymore. Even when things calmed down, I still didn't see him. I decided to go start facing the back of the store, and I told my coworker to call me if she needed me. As I was back there, I heard that Jamaican accent and all over. I looked up at the mirror to see that same scary man on the phone.
Yeah, she's here. No, it's just one other girl here with her. I can grab her when she leaves. No problem.
I was absolutely horrified. He didn't see me, so I slowly made my way up to the front.
Guys, do you see that girl with that mirror trick though? Like, how does that
He didn't
man
see
not
me,
see
so I
her?
slowly made my way up to the front. I briefly tell my coworker what's going on and then call the police and store manager. The cops took him away. A few days later, a detective came to speak to me. The two men were brothers. They were abducting women and actually using them for human trafficking. He told me I was really lucky. I later found out that they had apparently found a woman beaten to death in their apartment. They've both since gone to prison. This still gives me really bad nightmares. What happened to that woman could have easily been me, but thank God it wasn't.
Okay, guys. Hold up, sorry for that. Boom. Let's hit this up. And let's see some more scary animations. Alright, so. Let's do this one. Alright, I met a. Okay.
My name is Alan, and this happened a year ago. I was at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport and about to check in, going to Dubai. I was standing in the line to check in when I noticed that someone was staring at me.
The only one that got me scared.
She seemed like an ordinary girl at first, but then I noticed that her eyes were
actually
they were open, very wide.
Scare. Bro,
She
like,
was
come
smiling
on,
at me,
stop this.
but her smile was kind of annoying and crooked. I got creeped out, so after I was finished checking in, I quickly went through immigration and headed to the flight gates. Before going to the gates, I stopped at the restroom, and while I was urinating there, I could hear someone faintly whispering outside. I could tell that it was a girl's voice.
Oh!
When I finally walked
wants
outside,
some, though.
I encountered the same girl who I
Yeah,
met
bro,
at the
but
check-in
she
line.
wants some.
She was just standing there. But then, I saw scissors in her pocket.
Yeah, she's gonna kick that
I
wiener
quickly
off.
pushed her, ran away, and hid from her for a while. 30 minutes later, I barely arrived at the
Why?
gate.
She was gonna cut your wiener
And
off, bro.
Guess who
Weirdo.
arrived at the gate? Right, the same girl was there again.
Bro,
She was literally stalking me the whole time.
Bro, you're
Right
literally
then, I was
filled
terrified.
with hundreds and
So
thousands
when we
of
started
people.
boarding, I made sure that I
Just
didn't make eye contact with her at all.
Bro,
Fortunately,
why are you
my
going
seat
to
was
make
apart from hers. So at least I felt a little relieved during the flight.
This guy is so dumb. This guy is okay. I literally, like, this guy is the dumbest dude I've ever met in my life. Like, guys, like, bro, you are on a, like, okay, at this point, she got scissors, she's about to cut out my wee-wee. I'm like, okay, I'm not making eye contact with you. Anyways, you're in front of me, and you're boarding the exact same plane I'm boarding. Yeah, of course, I'm just gonna hop on the plane with you.
But this story didn't end
Like,
there.
Dude, like, no, he deserves to get killed, because this dude's just the dumbest dude ever.
Arrived in Dubai, I quickly got out of the airport and headed to the currency exchange counter. While I was exchanging my money, I looked around several times, but there was no sign of her anywhere. I quickly grabbed my money, but the moment I turned around,
She cut off
my
your
heart
wiener.
dropped.
I know she's gonna
The
cut off.
same girl whom I'd met at the airport was there. She was staring at me, holding scissors. But this time, she started twitching bizarrely.
And the dude who gave you your ticket or whatever it was isn't doing anything. Yeah.
Smile became
yeah.
bigger and even scarier.
Sure.
And she was walking toward me, closer and closer.
All right, hold on. If that guy isn't there, yeah, then I would know. But if that guy is still there, I'd be like, bro, you're all both idiots. You should already die.
It was almost
Especially
2
this
a.m.
guy.
and
This
there was
guy's
nobody
the
else around in
idiot
that
here.
area.
Like, why are you even boarding
I
the
had
plane?
no choice but to run, so I dashed quickly away and started searching for a taxi to get to the train station. Just then, I realized that the girl started to speed up to chase after me. Luckily, I narrowly found one.
She's in heels, dude. She's in freaking heels. And she running like fucking Sonic fast with scissors. What the fuck is this?
Taxi, and when I got in, it was a sigh of relief. When I glanced out the back window, the girl was dead.
Look, dude. Taxi driver doesn't help. Thousands of people and hundreds of people don't help. She gets scissors on a plane. That's not even possible. And then the taxi driver just lets him hop in the car and not even help.
Standing there,
Like, what
and
is
was
this
staring
world?
straight into my eyes. After 2 weeks, I went back to Manila. Of course, I didn't see her anymore after that night. However, the memory of that girl has been haunting me to this day. I haven't been able to forget her face.
Okay. 3 scare. Okay.
This is about a dream I had when I was in middle
Alright,
school.
I actually really like this one because, like, it's a girl and girl voice actor.
In my dream, I was standing in a huge empty space with other people, and I could see the dim light from afar. In fact, behind us, there were some strange people coming after us. They were chasing after us, walking on all fours, catching and eating people. Each person ran quickly towards the light.
Get me
I was
scared.
frightened by those strange beings chasing me from behind, but for some reason I couldn't move my legs to run. However, at one point, I suddenly realized it was a dream and felt at ease. It's a dream. I was standing there, and at that moment, a man in his 30s who was running just stopped next to me. Are you dreaming too? The moment the man spoke to me, I got goosebumps. How could it be possible to meet another person in a dream while we were standing still? Looking...
Honestly, that is really sick. That is really sick. Like, you're meeting another person in your dream. That is really sick. Yo, she's like, get the fuck out of here, bitch. Like, I know you're part of my dream.
Looking at each other, the people behind us suddenly attacked us. At that moment, I woke up screaming.
Was that it?
In my whole 26 years of existence, I only have one dream that I vividly remember. It's about a nightmare that I had when I was in the 8th grade. Although I can't remember the whole story, the last moment still gives me a chill to this day. So, I was being chased by someone on a mountain along with some other guy in this dream. I could feel how I was gasping for air and the pain on both of my legs.
Alright,
I was about to
guys,
give...
guys. So, one person on a hill. That looks like you're on a flat street and thousands of zombies are right behind you.
Up on running. However, all of a sudden, the man suddenly grabbed my shoulder and told me to run away and live. Furthermore, he already knew my name. That was the weirdest moment. As soon as he finished what he was saying, the man who was chasing after us appeared from behind and smashed his head in heavily. And that's when I woke up.
Oi, I'm really impressed. I low-key want to be that man who smashed his head in. Because, dude, that guy's a wicked strong. Fucking smashing a skull with your bare hands, dude. That is sick.
Being afraid, I noticed that I had been bleeding on both sides of my nose when I woke up. It was about 5 a.m.
Bro, this is low-key Freddy Krueger shit. Like, what the
I
fuck?
woke up my mom
like, you're
and
just
talked
taking
about
Freddy
the dream.
Krueger and
I
making
know that it was
into, like,
just a
zombies and
dream,
shit.
but I kept feeling uncomfortable. So I told my family to be careful. To my surprise, I heard that my uncle died the next day. He just died abruptly, even though he wasn't sick at all. At that moment...
Oh, okay. You're like, she's about to say, I remember that was my uncle in the dream.
When I heard that from my dad, I got goosebumps. Well, of course, it's just a coincidence, but who knows?
Come on! Give me a scary! What the fuck is this?
Mix color, watch it foam, style and chair. It's how you create rainbow
Bro.
hair. Rainbow High Hair Studio dolls.
Why
Rock
who
you
even
so
cares about
separately.
this ad?
This story
Alright,
is
give
about
me
the
a
creepiest
good
dream
horror
I've
story.
ever
I swear to God,
In-
if I don't get a good horror story, I might actually just quit. Because, like, I need a good horror story. Like,
My
get me
dream,
scared.
I
Or,
was
like,
in middle school
just come on.
and inside of a classroom. All of a sudden, I noticed that my classmates were rambling on. They said that demons had invaded our school and that they could change into humans.
Okay,
Like
yeah, I'm
monsters
not gonna
from
get
one of
scared
those
this.
Korean horror movies. Some of my friends were gathering around each other,
Fucking
putting their
demons.
heads
I don't
together
care
to
about
come up with a
demons
plan.
unless they in
They
my house
wanted to figure
and
out a
they
way
drink
to
in my
exorcise the
fucking
demons.
blood. Okay,
All the
well,
doors
that's
were
the only
locked.
thing.
I was
Like, I
standing
don't
in
care
the
about them
classroom with
unless
an
they're drinking
anxious
my
look
blood.
on my face. However,
Wait, is that
the
vampire?
moment
Oh,
they
yeah,
suddenly
sorry.
knocked
That's
was
vampires.
the moment
Yeah, I don't
I
care about demons.
realized that I was
Unless
dreaming.
they're like causing.
Hey, isn't this a
my
dream?
house.
It's just a dream. When I asked them while laughing, they all turned around and looked at me with empty eyes. And then I couldn't believe what I
Okay.
heard.
I just
You
feel
might
goosebumps.
be, but we are not. That was the
Okay,
last memory.
Got goosebumps. Fucking finally.
A few
Oh
years
my
ago,
God, let's
my
go!
mom, my
Yeah,
younger
she got me goosebumps!
went out for
Let's
dinner
go,
at a
bro.
local
I'm
restaurant
so
one
excited.
night. As we were walking on the sidewalk towards the restaurant, I noticed a man walking towards us from the opposite direction. Well, I can say that this was normal. But there was sort of a creepy vibe about him. He looked like he was in his mid-50s. He was tall
whoa.
and had a dirty beard. He was also bald.
Yeah,
Anyway,
almost
we
got.
walked
What's up?
inside the restaurant, and the waiter led us to a table. Then a
Hold
few...
up.
He looked
Just
like
hold
he
up.
was in his mid-50s.
That guy
He was
is
tall and
thinking
had a
about
dirty
raping
beard.
her,
He was also bald.
and he's a homeless
Anyway,
man.
we walked inside the restaurant,
That's not a restaurant. That's fucking.
and the waiter led us to a table. Then, a few minutes later, the same man from the sidewalk walked in and sat at a table close to ours, which was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's
I
gonna
thought
rape
this
her.
was weird, but when our meals came out, I just swept away any doubts about him. While we were eating, I noticed that he was staring at me the whole time.
Mo, what
I
is
tried
with
to
this guy
ignore
with
him.
the cheeks?
When my sister and I were almost finished eating, the waiter came up to us and said to my mom, "Ma'am, don't worry, your bill has been paid." My mom was confused and asked him what he meant, and he said that the man who was sitting next to our table had offered to pay the bill for us. Although this was a cheap restaurant, my mom refused the offer and explained that she was creeped out by that man. The waiter soon nodded and went to go get our bill. When he left, the man slowly walked towards us, opened a strange duffel bag he was carrying, and pulled out 2 stuffed animals. The shapes of the stuffed animals were totally crushed, and I didn't realize that it was
You see that shit? Ew, bro! Ew! Fucking! Look at that! Fucking, you got a fox right here with bunny rabbit ears, and a fucking bunny with bunny rabbit ears. But they look like, ooh, dude, like, ooh!
animal.
You see that shit?
It was the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen in my life. My heart started beating faster when he came over to our table and gave the stuffed animals to me and my sister. Being a 5-year-old girl, my sister was going to say yes, but my mom and I both interrupted and refused. Then the man didn't say a word. He walked back to his table and sat down. After the waiter came back with our bill, my mom explained what just happened. The waiter said that the man paid for his meal, so it wasn't possible to kick him out. However, the waiter said that he would follow us out of the restaurant to make sure everything was okay. Later that night, when we came back home, I tried to fall asleep, but it was hard to close my eyes because I was still feeling uncomfortable. I just laid there, and when I looked at the clock, it was around 2 a.m. All of a sudden, I heard someone walking outside my window.
I
It was the
low-key,
fall
like, I get
season,
scared by
so
those
all the
animals.
dead
because
leaves would make
I
loud
can get
crunching
scared, but I
sounds
get
whenever
grossed
someone
out.
walked on
Like,
them.
ugh.
At first, I assumed that it might have been some type of animal. However, I abruptly remembered the man from the restaurant and began to feel scared. The sound of footsteps was getting closer, and I shut my eyes as tight as I possibly could.
Yo, that shit is dumb.
Knock, knock, knock. I heard someone knock on my window 3 times.
Like,
Slowly,
she fucking...
I froze.
Like, that's as dumb
I knew
as,
that
like,
it was
you're
a
about
red
to get
flag
burned
and
in a
that I
fire,
shouldn't
and then you
open
put
my
your blanket
eyes.
over your head.
But
in
I
your
opened
bed.
my eyes cautiously.
That's how
Then
dumb
my
it is.
heart
So
dropped.
just close your eyes.
The man at the restaurant was peeking through my window. With
Bro,
his
he's gonna
glaring
eat
eyes,
you.
his eyes were fixed on me and looked me up and down. I couldn't
Oh,
scream at
he's
all.
checking
I just
him
lay
out.
there, praying that it
Fucking
must
checking
be
you
a
out.
dream. However, he didn't do any harm to me. He just stood there watching me and then walked away after a while. I didn't get any sleep for the rest of the
wasn't
night.
you on, like,
The next
like,
morning,
the
I explained to my
second
mom what
story?
happened yesterday,
Like how you just walk
and she
away.
called the police right away. However, although the police searched all over the area, they couldn't find him.
Bro.
They didn't know who that creeper was or what he wanted.
Bro,
But
what
I'll
the
never
fuck? You
lay
just
there
ran into
praying
him.
that
Look.
it must be a dream. However, he didn't do any harm to me. He just stood there watching me and then walked away after a while. I didn't get
You saw
any
that
sleep
side
for the
view,
rest
right?
of the night. The next
Alright, now
morning,
watch.
I explained to my mom what happened yesterday, and she called the police right away. However, although the police searched all over the area...
Bro, that's the guy! Except, oh, wait. No, he has a thing right here. Dude, that has to be the guy. Like, how is it not the guy?
area, they couldn't find him. They didn't know who that creeper was or what he wanted. But I'll never forget that night.
Oh, fuck, that actually
A
scared
bath fitter
me.
bath is installed quickly,
Dude, that
safely,
actually fucking
and
scared
beautifully
me.
with a lifetime warranty. A
Okay,
beautiful bath you've always wanted. Done right. Installed by one expert technician, all in one day. Book your free
Those
virtual or
stuffed
in-home design
animals, though.
consultation.
Like, fucking hate those stuffed animals. Like,
My name is Eric. I'm
what was the
rest of the night. All over the area, they couldn't find him. They didn't know.
I'm 31 years old, as well as a single dad living.
Mystery happened. Okay.
My name is Eric. I'm 31 years old, as well as a single dad living in a one-story house with my son, named Alex. It all started the night before Christmas, when Alex was 5 years old. Alex was so excited, so we decided to go for a walk around our town. We were walking down our road listening to the sound of carolers in the distance. That led us all the way down to the main street. When we came face to face with the three old women singing, I took out my phone, trying to record a story for my Instagram, just like other people around us. When I looked down, I saw my son covering his ears. I stopped recording, crouched down, and asked him what was wrong, but he didn't answer. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the middle woman of the three carolers was giving my son an evil grin with a large, creepy smile. She seemed a little bit weird. Well, it was a chilly December night, so I decided we would head back anyway. When we reached home, my son looked relieved. So I thought he just wanted to go watch TV and catch up on his episode, he thought. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the middle woman of the three carolers was giving my son an evil grin with a large, creepy smile. She seemed a little bit weird. Well, it was a chilly December night, so I decided we would head back anyway.
I need to see this.
When we reached home,
Bro, this is that. Okay, never mind.
my son looked relieved.
That's a face. That is a face, guys. Fucking relieved face ass.
So I thought he just wanted to go watch TV and catch up on his episode he thought that he might miss. Later, as I was cooking in the kitchen, I took a glance at my son, and I could see that he looked absolutely terrified.
Oh, window.
He was sitting straight up on the couch, which faced the TV.
Uh-huh.
There was a large window next to the couch that had the curtains slightly open. Then he sprinted up quickly, ran to me, and just hugged my leg. "Daddy, she's here," he told me with a shivering voice. And I replied, "Who?" He exclaimed back, "The middle woman we saw when we watched the caroling." I quickly looked at the window, and there really was that old lady we saw not too long ago.
Dude.
I closed my eyes for about 1 second, and when I opened my eyes again, she completely vanished. Being freaked out, I called 911 naturally, telling them about what had just happened. There were 3 cops that showed up, so I explained the incident to them again. And one of the cops showed me a photograph that looked kind of old to me. She was in there. Then she pointed to that old lady, asking if this was her, and I answered yes. She started laughing. My son looked confused until I asked why she was laughing. She stopped and gave us a kind of serious look this time, but was still smiling. Then she said, "Hey, you know what? I know this is weird, but this woman died 3 years ago on this exact same day." My heart dropped. That's when my son looked terrified too. I tried to calm him down, but I couldn't believe what was going on.
Thanks for getting me.
The other 2 cops came inside and said they found no trace of anything
Bro,
while searching.
hey, hold up.
Then she said, "Hey, you know what?" That's when my son looked terrified too. I tried to calm him down, but I couldn't believe what was going on.
Yo, cops, are you like getting back in the window? Like, why wouldn't you just use the front door? Like, my guy. Like, why are you coming through the window? Just use the door. You weirdo.
The other 2 cops came inside and said they found no trace of anything while searching.
Is that how you guys really come inside? Like,
It made no sense.
You are so weird.
When the cops had left our house, I put my son into his bed and went to my room. I turned the light on my nightstand that was close to the side, grabbed my phone, and decided to check Instagram, thinking that if I could find anything, I would just call the cops back. I opened my story, and to my surprise, I couldn't find that old lady in there. I checked another story, and then checked another again. But in fact, it was just 2 women there singing. Feeling mixed emotions like scared, mad, and even more, stupid, I started checking some other people's stories from around my neighborhood. And still, She wasn't there.
Oh,
But all of a
dude.
sudden, I
hate
realized
this
something.
one.
When I was checking some story feeds, I ran into one story of some woman who was standing right next to me during the caroling. Where my son and I should have been standing was replaced by nothing. It was like we weren't even there from the beginning. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. I put a hand over my mouth and couldn't say anything.
Oh, don't tell me.
That night, that Christmas day became the most terrible moment for us.
Never mind, I thought something would creep.
Well, I'm 33 now, and my son is now 7 years old. But even if everybody thinks that it doesn't sound true at all,
Dude, wait.
we both
He
still remember
was-
it like it.
He was like freaking 4. Like,
was
no,
yesterday.
Like he was 4. Oh fuck! No, dude! Stop jump scaring me! Like that. Okay. Like I want
My
to get
name is
scared
Samantha.
by,
I'm just
like,
a
the
regular woman
animations,
with
but
a
not
husband
jump
and 2
scared.
kids.
Scared.
I met my
Those
husband
like
at the
are
high
too
school we
hard.
both attended.
Those are too
And
hard.
we got married after graduation. I got pregnant shortly after and had to
Ooh,
get a
how old are
cesarean
you?
section during my delivery. Luckily, both babies and I are in good health.
How old
We
is
have
this?
been living a happy life. However, something creepy happened to me a few days ago. Well, Kate became crazy. Kate was one of my best friends since high school, and I've always known her to be a nice, shy, and pretty quiet girl. A few weeks ago, we had our school reunion. I met my classmates again after about 10 years since graduation. Everything went
You guys saw that. You guys saw that. That's.
living a happy life.
Hold up.
However, when she
Alright, hold up. Crazy.
Kate was one of my best friends
Best
since high
friends.
school, and I've always known her to be a nice, shy, and pretty quiet girl. A few weeks ago, we had our school reunion. I met my
Yeah, that's a girl. You guys remember this one? Bro, you never told us about this. She never told us about this weird thing that happened to her. Like, what's up? Like, dude, like, one of your
classmates
friends.
again after about 10 years since graduation. Everything went fine, and we had a good time
Like,
until
which
Kate joined us. When she came in, she looked like she hadn't slept in several weeks and smelled really bad.
No, dude, I haven't slept in like years, and I don't look that bad. Like, what the fuck? Like, dude, like that shit. Like, bro, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I do have bigger eye bags than her, but like, I don't look like I got a whole eye popped out of my skull.
Everyone just stood there, frozen, until Kate took out a knife from her pocket. Everyone screamed.
Okay, but what does this have to do with not sleeping? Because like, no, I really don't want to go like crazy, guys. So like,
And then she ran towards my direction. Samantha, you'll die for what you did to me.
What?
All of a sudden, the police entered through the big
What's up?
glass sliding door
What's
and
up?
jumped on Kate. The chills hit me as she growled like a dog.
What's
Then
up?
the
What you
police
do?
said she had
What you
some
do to
kind of
her?
mental problem and just escaped from a mental asylum a few hours ago.
Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
had
So,
no
like,
idea
she
what was
put
wrong
on
with her, and I was just wondering what had happened to
you're in gray.
her. And I felt really sorry for her because she had changed so much.
Good.
A few days
No,
later,
no, I
someone
know
called
at
me
the
on
end
my
of they
phone.
grin.
It was an old lady claiming that she was a nurse at the local mental asylum.
Okay, it's her.
She
right?
wanted to talk to me about something related to
Because
Kate.
she said,
Since
guys,
I
she said claiming. So that means it's Samantha, right?
had nothing to do, I decided to visit the asylum. As soon as I got there, the old lady greeted me, and she guided me into a room divided by a window, like the meeting rooms in jails.
Wait, why'd she
On the
say
other
claiming
side,
then?
there she was.
Ugh.
She was tied up to a chair.
Like it doesn't scare
I
me,
could
but
hear
that's
her
just gross.
continuously mumble. Then the old woman walked in and said, "She is here, sweetie. As Kate slowly looked up and into my eyes, she started to scream at me with wide open and bloody
Dude,
big eyes.
Okay. I didn't see those eye bags.
They are mine.
I did not. No, those are glasses. Okay, yeah. She got weaker eye bags than a penny of mine.
You stole them. You must suffer for it.
And I just want to say, you don't get like that much eye bags in like 1, 2, or 3 weeks. You get that much in like at least 4 or 5 weeks.
Understand what was happening. What was Kate talking about? Then the old lady returned next to me and said, "Miss Samantha, you have a husband and 2 kids, right?" I nodded. She sighed and then whispered, "Well, I have to say this. One of them is not yours." My heart sank as she continued. "You said that you had a cesarean section before, but half of your memory is not true. One boy is her kid. To be more specific,
that's what she did with it.
He's Kate and your husband's son. Just after she gave birth, she got a huge shock and threw her baby to the ground, which eventually made the workers in the hospital suspect she was not stable.
Okay, this makes
That's
way
why
more sense.
She's been in this room since that very day.
Okay, yeah, if I knew that, like, I would definitely not been scared, bro. Like,
Except for
that's
a few
so.
days ago, when she escaped to the reunion, back to the kids. Since Kate was locked in this place, your husband took the kid. He fooled you to believe that both are your kids. Kate finally noticed that her baby was gone, so she escaped from here to find you and your
Okay, yeah, this makes way more sense.
I just stood there in a state of shock, just staring at her empty eyes. My husband was a kind person, but now I finally realized that he lied to me and even cheated on me with my ex-best friend. I returned to my home, and since then, I haven't told anyone about this yet. Well, to be more specific, I couldn't. Both my kids still believe that I'm the real mom. If I reveal to my husband the fact that I know all of this, my family will be ruined. So, what should I do?
Like, break up with him? Take probably just your kid, or...
This happened when I was around 7 years old. My parents have been divorced since I was 4, and I stayed with my mom. 3 years later, when my mom got married again, we moved out of our small apartment and rented a bigger one.
Break up? I meant divorce.
It was pretty nice. It had a huge living room that was connected to a kitchen with no doors, so I could see the inside of the kitchen while I was sitting in the living room. As we were about to spend our first night in the new apartment, I decided to stay in the living room alone and watch some TV before going to bed. 1 or 2 hours later, I finally got tired and began dozing off. However, as soon as I began to fall asleep, I started hearing noises coming from the kitchen. It sounded as if the cabinets were opening, the plates were being moved around, and knives were being sharpened.
Excuse me, that was not plates getting moved around. That was fucking chains, dude. That was chains.
At first, I thought that my mom was in the kitchen, but when I opened my eyes and turned around, there was no one there. I even got up and went to the kitchen, and as I turned on the lights, everything was in its place. So I tried going back to sleep. But after all that, I kept waking up due to several nightmares. Sometimes I would even beg my stepdad to stay with me until I fell asleep. But he didn't hear any noises coming from the kitchen and didn't take me too seriously. Well, this went on until we started smelling something weird inside the living room. It wasn't as bad at first. But as the days went by, the stench got worse. It smelled as if something was rotting. We turned the whole house upside down trying to find the source of it, until we realized it was coming from the wall. We figured that a rat or something died inside the wall. So we hired someone to get that thing out of there. But what the guy told us was shocking. There was no space in the wall. It was all brick. Furthermore, the only thing that was behind the wall was the outside. At that moment, my parents remembered the noises I heard and the nightmares. They asked a priest to come visit us and pray for the house. So when he arrived at our house, he prayed and sprayed some holy water around, but it didn't seem to do anything. A few weeks later, my mom went into labor and had my baby brother. He would cry so much in his sleep that his face would often turn blue and red. Crying at night is usually common behavior for babies, but
yeah, crying at night and your baby's face is red, since they're crying so much, that is a little bit normal since it's turning red. No, it's like halfway normal, but if your baby's face is turning blue, then I think you should just go to a doctor for your baby, because your baby's face is turning blue. That's signs of they're suffocating, bro.
But this was more extreme. My parents were both sleep deprived, and the living room still reeked of something rotten, like a dead body. So I had to sleep in my stepdad's office room. We couldn't stand being there anymore, so the next day we asked a psychic for help. When she came into our house...
Wait, what the fuck? What's a psychic gonna do? It's a ghost. You will die in the future because of this thing. What is it fucking gonna do?
She walked around with one of those aroma sticks. The smoke was grayish-white as she walked from room to room, but as soon as she entered the living room, it turned black. She then started reading some prayers and spells and told us that someone was killed in this apartment. She also said that the ghosts were feeling uncomfortable with our presence, and they especially didn't like kids. Then she pointed at me and my baby brother. After she left our home, we were all terrified. So my parents called the person who we rented the apartment from and confronted him about what we just learned. To our surprise, he confessed that it was true and apologized for giving us that haunted apartment for a very cheap price. After that, we moved out and the paranormal activity was not experienced again. However, this memory gives me chills up to this day.
Oh, I didn't really get too much scared on that, except for...
It happened a few years ago.
A lot because,
I was hanging out at the local mall with a couple of my friends, just chatting, as usual.
I was just imagining
all my friends had social media accounts, like Facebook or Instagram, and they would focus on it sometimes when we were goofing around together. Drake, one of my friends, was saying that he met a girl from Facebook. He also told us that he really liked her, and that he was going out with the girl.
Get that titty-ass tycoon shit out of my face.
We joked with him that he was going to be going out with some 40-year-old man. Like, those kind of jokes, you know. A couple of hours later, we had to go back home. So we all...
I actually don't know what's about that.
All left the mall. When I got back home, I went inside my room to watch some TV. It was almost midnight when I got a text from my friend saying...
Bro, okay,
hey.
I low-key think I've watched this before. Dude, okay, guys, I low-key... Yeah, I've watched this before.
Hey, just finished the date. So I texted back, was he pretty? He replied, very funny. Jokes aside, my car broke down and I need you to pick me up. Then he sent me an address.
Guys.
Well, I'm not the kind of person who ignores when my friend needs a hand. So I asked my parents if I could take the car, and they said yes. I grabbed my phone and texted again. on my way.
Oh yes, all my time.
Soon I got to the address he sent me and parked in the driveway.
That was not.
While
in
I
the
was
text
going
story.
up the stairs,
It was on my
I
phone.
kind of had a creepy feeling, as if I was being watched. Anyway, I rang the doorbell and heard someone say, "Come in." At first, I didn't recognize the voice. It was neither my friend's voice nor a female voice, so I just figured that it might be the girl's dad. Well, I was a bit surprised that the door was already open. But anyway, I walked in, and when I closed the door behind me, I saw this man watching TV with the girl and my friend. I said, "Hey, Drake." However, for some reason, he didn't respond.
Like,
I had a strange feeling. So I slowly walked up to Drake, and I would never forget what I saw at that moment. The girl and
bro,
my friend
I've
Drake
been telling you
were
guys, it still
stabbed,
disgusts me.
and they were already dead. They
And
were
look,
put in a position
what I
in a
told
way
you
that it
earlier,
looked like they
you
were
can tell that I've
sitting.
watched this before.
So I thought they were just watching TV like that. I looked over at the man watching TV, and I saw that he was holding a bloody knife in one hand, and my friend's phone in his other hand. He was smiling. The man turned his head toward me, stood up, and said, "Hello, young
Look
man.
at that fat ass.
It's your turn." I tried to run out of the door, but because he was laughing so loudly, I was terrified, and I couldn't move. But there was
This
no
is
choice.
So stupid.
When
Like,
he approached me,
dude.
I abruptly kicked him, knocked him down, and managed to run
like,
outside.
that's pretty funny. I forgot about
Fortunately,
this
he didn't
part.
chase after me, but I didn't care.
But like,
I just
dude, like, I don't know how you just cannot run and you just stand still. Like, I don't
got
even
in
know
my
how
car
that's
and drove
possible.
off straight to my home. As soon as I got home, I woke my parents and told them about what had happened. And of course, they contacted the police. The police arrived pretty fast and raided the house, but didn't find my friend, the girl, or even the man. And to this day, they still haven't found any clues. Now I'm grown up and I'm living on my own with my wife and newborn daughter. I always think about what would have happened to me if I was unable to run away that day. And my friend Drake, his face keeps coming up in my mind all the time since then.
The woman on the bus.
This happened when I was on my way
I
to my
think I might have
grandmother's
watched
house.
this one before too.
On that day, I tried to catch the jeepney because the other buses were already full at 12 a.m. I finally found a jeepney, and there were only a few people inside. There was a driver, a money collector who was hanging onto the outside of the vehicle, 2 girls, a few guys, and an old woman. We were on the road when we passed by a mental hospital. Then a lady with a hospital gown on was standing there, pointing her finger out, which meant she wanted a ride. She was bald and her face was pale white. The jeepney stopped next to her, and the inside of the car went silent. The streets were covered in fog and darkness, and the light of the jeepney was the only light source. At the time, I was texting my grandma and said that I was going to be late while glancing at the lady. However, before she stepped on the stairs of the jeepney, the driver abruptly jammed the accelerator and left her behind. I was confused. It seemed like everyone was too. When we looked over at the driver, he seemed to be so scared, but we didn't know the reason why.
Right?
I asked him why he left the lady behind, and he replied with a trembling voice. He said, "She's not just a lady, ma'am." At that point, the driver looked at the rearview mirror, shut his mouth, and then increased the speed. When I followed his eyes towards the mirror, I saw it. The lady was running towards the jeepney with a weird pose and an abnormal speed.
What
She
the
was so
fuck?
fast
What the
that
fuck
I
is
couldn't
that
see her
shit,
face
bro?
clearly.
Ugh.
Her dress was visible.
Ugh.
It was
Ah,
covered
shit!
with
Stop with the
blood.
jump scares!
The collector, who was
I
standing
hate the
outside,
jump scares!
jumped inside and then yelled to the driver, "Faster! She's
Oh,
getting
stop!
closer.
Like I was
People
getting,
inside of the
I was
jeepney were
literally
getting
already
scared.
getting
I was
scared
the
because it was
closest to the door,
disgusting.
and out of nowhere,
And then you
saw the
jump
lady
scare.
jump on the vehicle.
Like, can you stop?
She then slowly hung onto the door of the jeepney, and finally she lifted her face. She had bruises all over her face, and she was smiling at us with sharp teeth and big, deep black eyes. My heart almost stopped.
But
And
why are you in the
everybody in
front?
the jeepney
Like, you
screamed.
weirdo, like,
I quickly
dude,
hit
run
her
to
with
the
my
back!
and she tumbled down from the jeepney. However,
just
the moment
slapped.
she got off,
Did she just
I
slap
saw
that
her
bitch?
standing. She looked at me and then laughed like a demon. Not long after, the jeepney finally reached the station. Everyone hurried off the car. I got off and handed my payment to the guy. Then I went to the 7-Eleven nearby and bought some snacks to ease my nerves.
Hold up! She just got ripped off! She just got ripped off! Not her, but the bus driver just got ripped off. Like, dude, she was the only one who paid. And everybody else just ran off the bus. It's weird.
I was at the counter thinking about what just happened.
Like,
And
nothing
then
really happened.
the cashier suddenly asked me, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine."
And then pulled
I'll
off the
just
mask
say
and was
that
fucking lazy.
I saw a crazy lady on the road when we were riding on the jeepney. I said, and then I couldn't believe his response. "I know her. She had cancer, and the moment she lost all of her hair, she went crazy, laughing all the time, hurting herself, and even threatening to kill people. That's why her family eventually moved her out to the mental hospital. But after a week, she tried to escape, got hit by a jeepney, and died," he said.
It's way more creepier now, dude. This
over my
one was
body.
way too scary.
I asked the cashier
Like,
if he still remembered
what
the
wasn't
plate
that
number
scary?
of the
But that
jeepney.
jump scare though!
Well, for
Okay,
my
I swear to God, if
privacy,
there's
I'm
another
not
jump
going
scare,
to mention
like I'm
the
so
number.
done.
But
Like I
after
hate
he
these
told
jump
me,
scares.
I thanked him, got my change, and looked for the jeepney I was on. The moment I found the jeepney again, I froze. The jeepney that I rode was the same one that hit and killed the lady.
She's like, "What's up, boy?"
This happened when I was in middle school.
Oh,
My school was kind of old
I
building,
saw
and
that,
some
like, I
places
saw
were
that.
almost worn out. The school had 3 main bathrooms. 2 were pretty maintained, but the last one was different.
Bro, I
It was
low-key have
separated from most of the
goosebumps.
other buildings.
Like I low-key just
The
have
floor was
goosebumps.
always
Like,
dirty, and there were
it's
6 stalls, but
like
only 3
super
had
cold
doors,
day,
and even
out,
those doors
like,
were all broken up.
My
I hated
window
ever
is
going
broken
there.
in my room.
Well,
so,
not just me.
So like,
All the girls hated
it's
that gross
freaking
place.
freezing, and anybody just come in my room. walk
Anyway,
through the window,
one
come
day,
in my
while I
room,
was in the classroom chattering with my friends,
I got
had to use
goosebumps
the bathroom
because
so
it's
bad.
so cold out.
Unfortunately, that girl's
outside
bathroom was
and
the
my window's
closest,
open
and
because I can't close
furthermore,
it.
I didn't want to
It's
try my luck
broken.
to endure it.
And I got goosebumps
So I
from
went
the
inside, and
horror,
I could
that
say that
last
it was
horror
the
story.
grossest smell I've ever smelled. I entered the last stall, which was much cleaner than the others in a hurry, and had to keep my pants not touching the floor. Afterward, I went to the sink to wash my hands. The inside of the bathroom was silent, and all I could hear was the sound of water running from the faucet.
And
Then I
once you
heard
turn that
tapping
sink off, I
turned
think
off
your
the
hands
tap
are gonna be more
and glanced
dirty.
up at the mirror, but I couldn't see anything because the surface of the mirror was so dirty. So I looked down, washed my hands, and started to dry them until I heard a tapping noise again. I grabbed some paper towel
Dude,
and
this is a thing you would have in like the racist times.
slowly
bro.
wiped
Like,
off the mirror.
Like,
And at that
so cool.
moment, I finally saw it. It was visible.
Ooh, sorry.
There was a hand that was out of one of the restroom stall, tapping on the surface of the door. Those fingers were pale white and skinny as a bone. However,
I think she
when I
wants to get in
quickly
that
turned
stall.
around, the fingers were vanished. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. So I just thought myself that let's just wash it and leave it, as I turned around and stood in front of the mirror. Then I saw my reflection very clearly. That was the worst part in my story. I was smiling at me. I mean, the reflection of me was literally smiling with mouth wide open. I couldn't move. I just glanced at the mirror and froze in fear, and then I heard the tapping noise again. To my surprise, when I looked closely at the mirror, I noticed that my reflection was tapping on the mirror to get my attention, and on the other hand, it was beckoning to me.
This is one of my fears. Not my big
I
fear, but it's one of my
screamed in
fears.
fear, threw my paper towel, and ran away from the bathroom. As I came back to the classroom, I told my friends what I'd seen, but they never believed me.
Or like,
After that day,
or
I
like
never went
something
into
getting
that.
reflected off the mirror that's not actually there, or that is there, and I just see it, and then like it vanishes, or it's still there. Like that's just
Bathroom
my
again.
big fear. It's like,
To this day, I don't want to know what I saw in there,
Look, yeah,
and I'm still a bit paranoid
that's
about
kind of one of my big
mirrors.
fears.
Well, I'll never forget what I saw for the rest of my life.
Ew, what the fuck?
This is
Okay,
a
I
story about a
actually-
dream.
Like, guys, like,
There was a person who was
like, guys, like, how, okay, sorry if you see my OBS. Like, 1 hour, I'm low-key about to puke
preparing for a trip.
because I'm so scared.
After he bought a plane ticket, he waited a few
And
days
it's
with
not because, like,
excitement, and
the
finally
only story that is scaring me is the one with the bus driver. Alright, hold up, guys. Let me switch to that.
fell asleep a day before the
Alright, hold
trip,
up.
and he had a weird dream.
Alright, boom.
He saw a woman in his dream wearing
Oh,
a
I've
colorful
watched this one.
jacket. Her eyes and mouth were both wide open. Then she suddenly shook her body and started to dance like a mad person. Being surprised, he finally woke up. He checked the time and then he realized that the boarding time had already passed. All of a sudden, he received a phone call from his mother while he was thinking about what he should do next.
The plane crashes.
As soon as he answered the phone, he heard his mother's anxious voice. She was worried about him. Confused, he turned on the television and the news made his heart
Wait,
drop.
hold up. Hold up.
The plane.
Who, okay. If you knew, like, oh, wait, hold up. My son went on this plane and it crashed. Hold up, let me just call him real quick. See if he's alright. Why would you call him? And that's like, is that his cell phone? Hold up.
All of a sudden, he received a phone call from his mother.
Okay, it is. But like, why would you call him? Like, why would you call him if like you're like you already know he's probably
While
dead?
he was thinking about what he should do next.
Like, why? Like that's
As
makes
soon
no
as he
sense.
answered the phone, he heard his
Like, I just
mother's
realized,
anxious
okay, he's
voice.
dead. Cry.
She was worried about him. Confused, he turned on the television and the news made his heart drop. The plane that he was supposed to be on had crashed.
Oh wait, I kinda
Furthermore,
spoiled it
the
for you
airline's
guys with that
logo
pause.
looked very familiar to him. I was bullied when I was in high school. One day, I fell asleep while in class, and when I opened my eyes, it was already dark outside. During the class, no one bothered to wake me up, so I had to leave the classroom alone. The dark hallway was scary, and tears
Here's
were
a
rolling
mirror.
down my face.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I was really
I just have to tell you
sad,
that.
realizing that I was being bullied. Anyway, I was passing by a full-length mirror in the middle of the school stairs. Then, as I was walking downstairs with my cell phone's flashlight, I saw myself in the mirror by accident, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it for a while. I was not reflected on the mirror.
Told you.
Being confused, I looked in the mirror straight ahead this time, but still, I couldn't see myself. Staring in the mirror for a few more minutes, I then screamed and ran out of the school. Come to think of it now,
Yep.
I think they didn't see me in the classroom that day.
But I just want to say, if she was a ghost, then how did the people get this story from her? But it's probably just a fake story, and they made it up.
My name is Arnie. A couple of years ago in the summer, we moved into a new house that was much bigger than our old house. The inside of the house was very huge. Everybody was satisfied with the house. But for some reason, I couldn't get rid of the unnerving feeling. One night, I stayed up late, alone, watching some scary movies on my phone. All of a sudden, I heard what sounded like someone singing. At first, I thought maybe I was just paranoid, or it was coming from the movie I was watching. However, it kept going for like 15 minutes, even though I turned down the volume.
Stop.
I looked at my watch and it was almost 3 a.m.
Okay, guys, I'm cowering.
It sounded like a woman, and her voice would get very close to my room. Then it would slowly move through our halls. And then, after a few minutes, it vanished.
No,
I
stop!
was creeped out. But I eventually went back to bed because
Alright, guys, I'm sorry. It's just not happening.
nothing I could do about it. When I woke up in the morning, I asked my mother and sister if they had heard someone singing
I'm not
last
keeping it
night.
on full screen.
They just shook their heads. And they even asked me if I was okay. I was puzzled by this. So the next night, I decided to stay up to see if the woman would sing again. Later that night, I was almost falling asleep. But then, I heard it again.
No!
The time was exactly
Stop!
3 a.m.
Stop! You have
I
to
was
stop
so
this.
scared, too scared to go
Stop.
see who or what
Stop.
it was.
Stop!
I was pretty sure that I was the only one who was awake in the house. So I went out into the hallway quietly.
No.
And when I turned my head toward the hallway,
No, why
I
are
froze
you dumb?
in fear.
You're so dumb.
there was a woman
No!
who I've never seen before
No, stop.
standing at the end of the long hallway and staring at me with a
Stop,
blank
please,
look.
Please, why are you doing this?
She was wearing a white dress.
Why are you
had
doing
long,
this to me,
straight
bro?
black hair.
Stop!
And was singing that
No,
same bone-chilling
stop.
song that I heard when
swear
I
to
was in
God.
my room.
Yeah, I am actually.
I wanted to run back to my bed, but I couldn't move my legs for some reason.
Okay.
Then,
Now I understand.
the woman
It's like,
started
I'm
slowly
literally
moving
standing
toward
right
me.
now, and I cannot move.
And what I noticed at that moment still gives me a chill to this day.
Ugh.
She wasn't walking, but I could say that she was rather hovering a couple inches off the ground. As she was coming closer and closer, I could see that her mouth was almost ripping. And that was the most horrible thing I've ever seen in my life. I
Guys,
eventually...
I just got so scared because I have like a bearded dragon in my room, and it's like a baby, right? So, and it's in a cage, like a very, very, very big cage, and then it like moves on like this paper, like it's kind of like sandpaper thing, and it scares the crap out of me.
passed out. And when I woke up in a panic, it was 3:30 a.m. I looked around the dark hallway, but she wasn't there anymore.
Stop.
Well, we still live in that house.
Stop.
And I've heard that dreaded singing from that woman moving throughout my house about twice a month. I told my friends about it, but no one ever believed me. I just hope that no one else has to experience this terrifying thing.
Bro, stop.
This happened when I was around 6 years old.
I
was with my mom on the bus. We were on our way to my grandmother's house. The bus was pretty quiet and empty, but there was an old man sitting in front of me. The bus soon reached a bus stop, and a few passengers got on. However, suddenly, the old man who was sitting in front of me started screaming out of nowhere and then fell flat on his face. All of the people on the bus were concerned, and eventually, the bus driver stopped the bus and called the police and an ambulance. They came shortly after. A moment later, something unbelievable happened. The police arrested a man who was on the bus. To my surprise, he turned out to be a serial killer who was wanted for a very long time. The old man who had fallen started screaming because he found a woman's head inside of the killer's bag.
Oh, okay. It's cool.
This happened during finals week. My friend and I got hungry while studying late at night, so we decided to go to a restaurant nearby that was open late at night. We ordered food and sat near the window. My friend was looking out the window while she was...
If you... Oh, sorry guys. Here we go. Get back over here.
My name is Alan, and this happened a year.
Instantly.
But, like, you can put the greatest background that isn't scary, like, that just helps people, like, calm down. And then you can probably put I saw myself in, like, bloody letters. And right now, I probably, like, piss my pants. Because, honestly, I am scared to shit.
This happened during finals week. My friend and I got hungry while studying late at night, so we decided to go to a restaurant nearby that was open late at night. We ordered food and sat near the window. My friend was looking out the window while she was talking to me, and then she suddenly stopped. She didn't say anything, but pointed at the window with a trembling finger. "What?" I asked, as I turned my head towards the window. And as soon as I did, my eyes focused on a couple of people outside. I instantly froze. Somehow, my friend and I were standing outside staring at us. They smiled at us for a while, and then they blended in and disappeared with the rest of the people outside. Our food came out, and my friend and I couldn't eat at all. We eventually rushed out of the restaurant. Who were those two people we saw that day? And why did they look exactly like us?
That's it.
This happened to me when I was young. One day, I was home alone and I was running the washing machine in the laundry room. When the first load was done, I took out all the laundry. I turned around and then I saw a lady standing right in front of me. She was a middle-aged woman, and she was smiling at me.
Okay, there we go. Is this her laundry room, or was it, like, did she say a laundry mat? Because I forgot.
Almost fainted at that moment, thinking that it must have been my imagination.
But okay, yeah, that's her laundry room, because you see that? Like, at first, like, there was two washer machines, or, I mean, there's probably I forgot what it's called. But a washer and a dryer.
Unfortunately, the lady was still standing there. For some reason, I couldn't move my body. I was about to cry, then the lady suddenly started running around the living room and was laughing out loud. It turned out that my home security system wasn't properly locked, so the woman managed to sneak inside. The woman was caught by a security guard who came to our house after hearing the security alarm go off. She was later arrested by the police. Later on, the investigation confirmed that the woman was not caught on the elevator security camera, which meant that the woman walked up the stairs all the way to the 15th floor, opening each door one by one to see if any were open.
When I was 6 years old, I went shopping for clothes with my dad. I had a good time with him, and everything was fine until I noticed that a man was staring at me.
I am so creeped
He
out.
was a tall, white, and kind of weird-looking dude who was probably around in his 30s. Then he started smiling at me more creepily.
Where is
My
that
head kept
drool
saying,
coming
"What's wrong
from?
with that man?"
What the
I
fuck?
told my dad right away, but he reassured me that it wasn't a big deal. So I shrugged it off and soon forgot about him. A few minutes later, we were at the checkout area, and I heard the voice of someone whispering. Psst. I turned my head back and I saw the same
Dude,
man that I had seen
guys.
before. He was smiling
Like,
again.
you know,
and
I got
tossed me a
so
candy.
much goosebumps.
I usually don't
Like,
accept stuff from
you know
strangers
that you're
because my
really
dad won't let
scared
me.
When you
But this
have so
time,
much
my
goosebumps
dad wasn't looking
that
at
you
me,
even
so
have them
I
on
took
your
it.
foot and hands.
When we got home, I went up to my room, sat down, and opened the candy wrap.
Why? Why would you do that?
However, there was a folded note
Yeah.
instead of candy.
Why?
It said, "Careful." Being a young and careless kid, I just thought it was some kind of prank and ignored it. A few weeks later, it was the holidays. So my mom went to a party and my dad was busy with work. I had to stay home alone. But that also meant I could do whatever I wanted to.
And that
So I
also
was
meant you
watching
could be a
YouTube,
snack.
eating my snacks until about 9 p.m. I started to feel tired watching YouTube, and then I heard some noises outside. I got scared. So I took my phone and ran to my parents' room, as it was the safest room in my house. I quickly locked the door. My parents' room had a monitor where I could check the security cameras. So I tried to look who was outside. However, I could only see red on the screen. I thought it was strange, so I quickly rewound for about 5 minutes. And what I saw was shocking. It was that man who I'd seen at the shopping mall. He was just standing there, holding a can of spray paint for a minute or so. And then he suddenly started spraying all the cameras. Just then, I heard small knocking noises. Hiding in my parents' closet, I tried to call my parents, but no one answered. Then I called the police, thinking that it might be my last chance, and explained to them my current situation completely. Fortunately, the police arrived in just 5 minutes.
Bro,
They
this
searched
guy
our
looks like
whole
he's
house,
two.
and they finally found him hiding in the attic. After they arrested and investigated him, it turned out that the man had trailed me that day when I got the candy from him. He already knew where I lived, so he made a plan to steal some valuables from our house. They also found apparent evidence that he was even going to try to do some bad things to me.
Phone number.
Well, I'm just
and
glad I
call
survived.
police. And
However,
they
to this
caught-
day, it's
and,
agonizing just recalling the moment
and also,
when I saw his face through the camera.
Like, dude, you still have to, like, tell the police where you are.
When I was
And
about
don't think,
16,
like,
I lived in a
3 or
small
2-year-old
town.
Can tell the
We had
police,
this
like,
abandoned
what
house
your
in my
address
neighborhood.
is.
It was huge, almost big enough to call it a mansion, but it had been an empty house for a while. One day, on the first day of summer vacation, I suggested investigating inside of that house. All of my friends
Has it been
agreed.
more than 18?
A few days
like,
later,
animated
around
stories?
7:30 p.m., we snuck into the house. The inside of the house had been burnt pretty badly, which we thought was the reason why the house was abandoned. Everything was kind of cool, but old and countrified. We started to check all of the upstairs and
Oh,
downstairs of the
this is
house,
really that
even the basement. Just at that
Why
moment,
would you fucking
I
get
saw
that?
something darting across the room.
Yeah, it's a
I
nice.
started getting nervous, but then I thought to myself, it might be a squirrel or a raccoon,
Why
and brushed
would
away
it be
my
a
doubts.
squirrel?
Then
And
I
a
went to the second
raccoon
floor,
probably
and my
would
friends
do it.
followed me. I opened the door, and there was a human-sized teddy bear sitting in the desk chair,
Oh, nice. Can I
facing
have it?
us.
No, I'm joking.
We were spooked for a moment, but it
I'd
didn't
rather
stop
not.
us from exploring further. We went to the third floor, and while we were searching around and taking some stuff, someone told us to look up. When we looked toward the wall, we
Human
could see
body.
the writing,
No.
"Get out." However, we all laughed. We talked about how brave we were, and then turned around to head back downstairs. All of a sudden, one of my friends, Jay, whispered that he saw something moving behind me. I turned around with my flashlight, but nothing was there. Feeling weird, we went down to the second floor again. Then, when we looked into the second floor room, I swear to God, the teddy bear was gone. Everybody in the house said nothing at all. We all agreed that we should leave this house as soon as possible. There was a door which was connected to the kitchen, so we approached the kitchen. But just at that moment, one of my friends gasped. Everybody slowly turned around, and the teddy bear was there. It was sitting at the dinner table looking towards us, and when we raised our heads upwards, we could see the writing on the walls.
Okay.
Get out.
Well, get out.
Getting caught or not, I wanted to leave. I wanted to be out of there. I ran out of the kitchen, but I couldn't take one step further. There was a man who was standing there. He was blocking our way through the door.
I thought you said get out.
He was holding a knife.
Yep.
He seemed like he was almost in his mid-40s.
You're not gonna get out?
We just stood there, staring at him,
Alright,
without
so we're not
saying
getting out.
anything
Okay,
or
that's
screaming.
right.
The man was blocking our way, and he took a step forward, staring at us with a big, wide smile.
I always do big
Then
ones.
one of my fearless friends that found an old hockey stick from one of the rooms stepped in front of me and shouted to him not to come any closer.
He fucking grabs a hockey stick like, fuck you, bitch. Oh, hold up, guys. Let me fix this real quick.
The man didn't say anything. He took a couple of steps back and slowly crawled into a big hole behind a seat chair in the corner of the
Oh
room.
my god, that's
We
so
couldn't
weird.
believe what we had just seen. Without any hesitation,
Almost
we
dead
ran for our
overnight.
lives after he disappeared. As soon as we managed to get out, everyone started to run away in a hurry. As I was following them, I turned around and I saw it. The man stood in the window and waved to us, smiling peacefully, like nothing had ever happened.
With the teddy bear.
When we finally reached a safe place, far away from that house, we all just stood there thinking that it was the most horrible nightmare we had ever experienced. After that night,
Don't
I
touch
never sneak into houses,
Please don't touch it.
especially any abandoned houses.
Okay, no jump scares. Alright, guys. Well, hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.